the oppressive stillness of the forest, whispered secrets I wasn't meant to hear, but I was drawn in nonetheless as if some invisible force beckoned me into the heart of Aokigahara. Known as the Suicide Forest, this place has harbored the lost souls of countless individuals who ventured into its depths, never to return. I, a mere visitor, was about to confront the forest's dark legacy, unraveling a story I would never forget. But it was precisely this reputation that intrigued me. I had always been fascinated by the paranormal, eager to explore places where the veil between the living and the dead was said to be thin. It was a cold autumn morning when I set out for Aokigahara. The sky was overcast, casting a grey pallor over the landscape. As I approached the forest, a sense of foreboding settled in my stomach. The trees, twisted and gnarled, stood as silent sentinels at the forest's edge, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. A sign at the entrance, written in Japanese, read, "Your life is a precious gift from your parents. Please consult the police before you decide to die." The stark reality of what this place represented hit me hard, but I pressed on, driven by a morbid curiosity. The forest floor was a tangled mass of roots and undergrowth, making it difficult to navigate. As I ventured deeper, the dense canopy above blocked out the sunlight, plunging the forest into an eerie twilight. The silence was palpable, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant call of a bird. My footsteps seemed unnaturally loud, echoing in the stillness. I had been walking for what felt like hours, when I stumbled upon the first sign of human presence. A tattered ribbon tied around a tree trunk, its faded red color stark against the dark bark. It was a trail marker, left by someone who had entered the forest before me. I followed the ribbon, hoping it would lead me to something of interest. It was then that I heard it, a soft whisper, barely audible, carried on the wind. It was a voice, low and mournful, speaking in Japanese. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was unmistakable. Sorrow, despair, a cry for help. My heart raced as I turned in the direction of the voice, straining to hear it again. The fog thickened, and the whisper grew louder, more insistent. I followed it, my pulse pounding in my ears. The voice led me to a small clearing, where I found an abandoned campsite. A torn tent, its fabric flapping in the breeze, stood as a testament to a presence that had long since departed. Scattered around the site were personal belongings, a backpack, a notebook, a pair of shoes. But what caught my attention was a photograph, half buried in the dirt. I picked it up, brushing off the soil. It was a picture of a young woman smiling brightly, her eyes full of life. On the back, written in neat, careful handwriting, was a name, Akiko. The whisper came again, closer this time, almost directly in my ear. I spun around, but there was no one there. The fog swirled around me, thick and suffocating. I felt a sudden, overwhelming sense of dread. I wasn't alone in this forest. Something or someone was watching me. I tried to retrace my steps, but the fog had transformed the forest into a labyrinth of shadows and shapes. The ribbons I had followed were no longer visible, swallowed by the mist. Panic set in as I realized I was hopelessly lost. The whispering grew louder, more insistent, echoing in my mind. I could feel a presence just out of sight, lurking in the shadows. Desperate, I called out, my voice sounding small and hollow in the vastness of the forest. As I approached, the light grew brighter, revealing a figure standing beside it. It was a woman, her long black hair hanging in front of her face, obscuring her features. She wore a white dress stained with dirt and blood. In her hand, she held a candle, its flame casting eerie shadows on her pale skin. I stopped in my tracks, my breath catching in my throat. "Akiko," I whispered, the name slipping from my lips unbidden. The woman raised her head, and I saw her eyes, dark, hollow, and filled with an unspeakable sadness. One night, plagued by nightmares of the forest, I decided to return. This time I prepared thoroughly, bringing supplies, a map, and a compass. I told no one of my plans, fearing they would try to stop me. I had to know what had happened to Akiko and why I felt such a strong connection to her. The return to Aokigahara was both familiar and alien. The oppressive atmosphere weighed heavily on me as I stepped into the forest once more. The canopy closed above me, plunging the surroundings into a dim twilight. I followed the path I remembered from before, hoping to find Akiko's campsite again. Hours passed, and the forest seemed even more hostile than before. Every shadow seemed to hide a lurking presence. Every rustle of leaves a whisper of the past. The deeper I ventured, the more disoriented I became. The map and compass were useless in this labyrinth of trees and fog. The forest had a way of twisting reality, making the most straightforward paths treacherous. I called out into the mist, "Akiko, I'm here to help. Show yourself." The whispers paused, and for a moment the forest was deathly silent. Then she appeared, stepping out of the fog like a ghost. Her hair was as dark and disheveled as I remembered, her dress stained with dirt and blood. Her eyes, however, were different. There was a recognition in them, a flicker of humanity that hadn't been there before. "Why are you here?" Her voice was a whisper, yet it echoed around the clearing. "I want to help you," I replied, my voice trembling. "I want to understand why you're here and how I can bring you peace." She looked at me, a mixture of sadness and hope in her eyes. "I am bound to this place by my sorrow and regret. I cannot move on." "But I don't know how," Akiko looked at me with a piercing gaze. "You must help me confront my pain. Only then can I be free." She led me deeper into the forest, to a place where the trees grew so close together that not even a sliver of light could penetrate. The air was thick with an oppressive energy, and the whispers were deafening. In the center of this dark grove was a small shrine, its wood rotting and covered in moss. "This is where I ended my life," Akiko said, her voice breaking. "This is where my sorrow is strongest." I knelt beside the shrine, feeling the weight of her despair pressing down on me. I placed my hands on the cold, damp wood and closed my eyes, focusing on Akiko's pain and regret. The whispers grew louder, surrounding me, filling my mind with their sorrow. "I am here," I whispered, my voice blending with the chorus. "I am here to help you find peace." For what felt like hours, I knelt there, channeling all my energy into the shrine, into the forest, into the spirits trapped within. Slowly, the whispers began to change. The sorrow and despair turned to gratitude and relief. The oppressive weight lifted, replaced by a feeling of lightness and calm. When I opened my eyes, the fog had cleared, and the grove was bathed in a soft, ethereal light. Akiko stood before me, her form more solid, and her eyes filled with tears of gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have freed me." Before I could respond, she faded away, her spirit finally at peace. As I made my way out of the forest, the sun was rising, casting a golden light over the trees. The oppressive silence was gone, replaced by the gentle sounds of nature. I felt a sense of accomplishment and relief, knowing that I had helped Akiko and the others find peace. But Aokigahara still held its mysteries and its darkness. The forest would continue to draw the lost and the broken, offering them a final refuge. I had faced its darkness and emerged, but I knew I would never forget the whispers of Aokigahara and the souls trapped within. To this day, the memories of that night linger, a reminder of the thin line between life and death and the power of the human spirit. Aokigahara remains a place of darkness and mystery, a testament to the human soul's deepest despair, but for me it will always be a place of profound connection, where the living and the dead share their stories in the silence of the trees. I returned once more, years later, to leave a small offering at the edge of the forest, a candle for Akiko and all the others who had found solace in its depths. As I lit the flame, I whispered a prayer, hoping that they had found the peace they sought. And as I walked away, I could have sworn I heard a soft whisper on the wind, a voice filled with gratitude and sorrow, bidding me farewell. And if you enjoyed this haunting journey into the shadows of Aokigahara Forest, don't forget to like, share and comment below. Let us know your thoughts, and if you have any spine-chilling experiences of your own, subscribe to our channel for more terrifying tales from around the world. Join us as we continue to uncover the most haunted places and the eerie stories that surround them.